Welcome to Movie Vault. In today's installment, we take a look at how an 18-year-old desperately tries to find her mom after she goes missing on vacation in Colombia, or so it seems in this drama, mystery, and thriller movie titled Missing. Let's get into it. It starts off with camera footage of a young June Allen and her deceased father, James, having a bonding moment. James passed away from a brain tumor not long after the video was shot. Fast forward years later, June is watching a crime documentary called Unfiction on her computer. June's mother, Grace, calls her on FaceTime to leave her with some instructions to follow as she prepares to leave with her boyfriend Kevin for a week-long vacation in Cartagena, Colombia. Grace also informs June to contact her friend Heather, a divorce attorney, if she needs anything, much to June's annoyance. With her mom gone, she spends the week hanging out with her friends and blowing through the emergency funds her mom left her. On the last night prior to her mom's return, June invites some friends over for a party, at which she gets totally wasted and goes to bed really late that night. She wakes up the following morning and rushes to the Los Angeles International Airport after having missed the time her mom gave her to pick them up. She waits for hours, but Grace and her boyfriend never show up. June then decides to conduct her own investigation by first contacting the Hotel Pomarosa in Cartagena, where Grace and her boyfriend made reservations. A front desk clerk picks up her call and informs her that the occupants of the room have already left, leaving their things behind. June informs Heather of the situation, who also makes further inquiries and files a missing persons report. The following morning, an agent with the U.S. Embassy by the name of Elijah Park calls June to make some inquiries and assure her that the agency will be looking into the situation. In a last-ditch effort to secure security footage from the hotel, June hires the services of Javier from a website that is the Colombian equivalent of TaskRabbit. Javier comes up empty-handed but then suggests June try tracking Kevin's phone since she had no luck trying to track her mom's. June is able to gain access to Kevin's mail and personal information by placing a call to a password recovery helpline. She then goes through all his information to see if she will find anything helpful, only to discover that Kevin has been exchanging intimate messages with a lady who goes by the name Bunny Cake, whose actual name is Rachel Page. She also uncovers Kevin's criminal past as a conman when she finds a slew of women in his blocked contacts. FBI agent Elijah Park calls June and sends her a video showing her mom and Kevin being kidnapped by a gang. He assures her the agency will find the culprits. Javier tries to console a distraught June as the two start to develop a bond through their interactions. June later realizes that the person on the plane to Colombia was actually the paid actress Rachel Page and not her mom when she decides to look through the vacation photos she had been receiving from Kevin as updates one more time. Agent Elijah Park organizes a press conference to brief the media on the recent updates. As expected, the case garners widespread news coverage as it is revealed Grace actually never left Los Angeles. Javier translates Colombian news to June as they report that Kevin actually paid a bunch of students to carry out the kidnapping as part of a movie scene. Rachel is then shown to give an account of her version of events after being detained upon arrival in the U.S. Later that night, it is revealed on the news that Grace has had several aliases over the years and that her real identity is hidden thanks to a court-ordered seal. The internet and other forms of media go wild with speculation with regards to how much Grace was involved in her own disappearance. June conducts more research on the issue out of frustration. She ends up discovering an encrypted messaging platform that Kevin was using to exchange messages with someone anonymous, whom she soon finds to be Heather. June then decides to confront Heather at her office, only to find her dead in the storage room with no clue as to who killed her. The following day, June receives a message stating that Kevin had been found from one of her friends, along with a link to videos that show Kevin being killed during an attempt to apprehend him by the police in Colombia. As the chances of finding Grace grow slim with Kevin's death, June makes a last-ditch attempt to access her mom's mail information after several failed attempts. She finally gains access to Grace's profile upon entering the right password, only to find a blocked user with the ominous message she deserves to know in her contacts. She runs a search of the sender's mail address through Kevin's profile to uncover various live camera feeds from her old house. Shortly after, a strange man appears at her doorstep and reveals himself to be her father. He begins to explain how Grace is mentally unstable and had him convicted on false charges just so she could keep him away, as June struggles to wrap her head around what is happening. June soon realizes that her father, James, is responsible for her mom's disappearance when she makes a connection between him and Kevin through their conversation. James quickly grabs her and drags her away as she attempts to grab her phone and call for help. A series of flashback events shows how Grace, whose real name is Sarah, was in an abusive relationship with the drug addict, James. So she plotted her escape with June by reporting James for drug possession and then changing her identity with the help of her lawyer, Heather, in order to stay hidden. James takes June to the old house and ties her up. He then heads over to a different room where he is keeping Grace captive in order to kill her, but before he could do that, Grace knocks him over the head with a club and runs out to June. James shows up and shoots Grace. As he tries to subdue June, Grace manages to stab him in the neck with a piece of broken glass. He stumbles out of the door and locks it behind him as he frantically tries to get help before dying. With the two of them now locked inside with no hope of help arriving as Grace lays dying, June suddenly remembers her computer is still receiving feed at home and uses one of the cameras to command Siri to call 911. Several months later, June is watching another unfiction episode about her mom's abduction. Her mom calls to remind her to get ready for college, and the bond between the two of them is seen to be stronger as June now seems to appreciate her mom more since the incident. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and leave a like. Write down in the comments what movie you would like us to recap next.